All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Go With The Flow. I'm your host, Folarin Okulaja, here with another special guest. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited for this one, and we are going to speak so much more about this, and there's so many reasons. TikTok, your TikTok being one of them. But before we get that, who even are you? Who is Rachel?
Who is Rachel? Great question. I grew up in a really small town in Connecticut,
Is
and
that where you're going home after? You said you're going
yes,
home?
so
Okay,
I'm going
nice.
home to hang out with my parents. I now have a very flexible remote job. Well, it's not fully remote, but I
I was
get
about
to.
to say you're not. Yeah. What?
No, I'm like 3 days in, which is
Okay.
ideal.
That's damn near remote from wherever,
I
after
know,
where you came from.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm anti fully work from home, but I'm also anti like being treated like a child, like you're an adult. We're all
Agreed.
adults.
Agreed.
So I'm going home to hang out with them, and then I'm coming back Tuesday, and the only reason I'm coming back Tuesday is because I'm going to my first brand event on my new account.
Oh wow.
hmm
Can you say what brand it is? Or are you
Yeah,
not allowed
it's like
to?
Stanley and then a workout clothes brand, and they're doing a class actually at my favorite yoga studio where I used to go when I was having like a really stressful week before in my old job.
What's your yoga studio of
It's
choice?
called Humming Puppy. It's really good.
Okay. I've
23rd and 7th.
been to Vera Yoga and like Hot Lion or some shit like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty I've been getting into yoga recently,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I'm not
I
I'm not the biggest yoga fan, and the only usually when I would go to the studio, they would have a stretch class. So it was literally going and rolling on the floor. But the one time I did a yoga class at the studio, it was very, very difficult. So going home for a few days, coming back for that. But I really am trying to spend more time with my parents because it's only like 2 hours away. And there's no reason to be in New York instead of hanging out with them sometimes.
You're better than me. My parents are an hour away in Jersey, and I should probably go.
Do they come in?
They probably come here more than I go there. I
Yeah.
usually only go home for the big occasions like Mother's Day, birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, that type of stuff. But outside of that, they will visit me. But I do need to be better. And my mom, I found out she watches the podcast, so
Oh.
that that's getting bad. I'm like, I can't say too much on here. No, I'm kidding. I usually am mindful. I've always had that in mind. I'm like, I would listen to this with my grandma, so like I don't say anything crazy, but it's just,
It's a different perspective when you
yes.
know your family is listening. My family, none of them have TikTok. My brother's only social media is Instagram, and my parents don't have any. So I'm very flexible about it. But one of the nurses my dad works with sent him one of my like going on a date things. And I
I
was
saw
like,
that TikTok.
we didn't need to do this.
And does he like try to talk to you about it after, or is he kind of like, I'm gonna let you live your life?
Kind of both. Like he wants to be really chill so that I tell him more, but he also wants to know.
And that's such a hard balance to strike, and that's
Yeah.
one of the topics that we're gonna talk about, honestly, based on that clip. But okay, first branded event, that's very exciting. When did you get your first sponsorship deal?
I was so on the new account. So I had a previous account with a classmate of mine from college, and then I started a new account in June. And my first like big brand deal came in July, and I was in Spain with one of my like closest friends from college, and I threw my phone when I saw how large the number was. I was like in shock. So
And and honestly, we'll get to TikTok in a second. But okay, first branded deal, going home to Connecticut.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so from Connecticut, really small town, went to a really small high school, which I think was really good in a lot of ways, but also there's always nuances to
How
everything.
small is small?
My grade was 36 kids,
Wow,
and that was considered larger.
my gym class probably had like 50 something.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was really small. My like and like you would go 7 through 12. So my middle school class I think was 18, and then my elementary school I went to a religious school, K through 6, and my grade was considered huge, and it was six kids.
Wow. Okay. Small town. You really meant it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I went to private schools or like religious schools, so I think my town school was like 100 kids. So even like the public school in my town was still tiny.
Hmm, okay.
Very small area. And then I went to Penn, which was incredible.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that experience.
So I think,
Because I got rejected from Penn. Yeah. Yeah.
well,
I feel like that was the one Ivy. I mean, also got rejected from Harvard. I mean, no woe is me. I'm okay.
You're-
But
you're so
those
brave.
I know. But I would have really liked to get into Penn. It seemed like a really fun time. But so yeah, how's your experience?
It was a really fun time. I was brought so I have an older brother who I'm really close with, and I remember going on his college tours and hating every single school we toured except Penn. So I was 8th grade at this point, and I remember walking down Locust Walk, and I was like, "This is kind of a vibe. I don't know why, but I like this." And then I went back to tour for myself when I was a junior, and I was like, "Yeah, I still really like this," but I wanted to go to Georgetown, I think because my brother went there, and I was like, I like all of his friends. I'd been going out there and going to parties with him since I was in high school, so I felt really comfortable, and I think something I tend to do is, like, when I'm comfortable, I'll, like, go with that, and then taking a risk always turns out to be great, but I'm
Mhm.
really scared to take the, like, first risk.
Okay. And I'm like, I didn't want to wear my hat, but I'm like, I need a haircut. So now the hat is coming
I
off.
like the hat.
Thank you, thank you. But I mean, I was gonna say the whole. So I'm recording 2 episodes today because we grind on
Booked
Go
and
with the
busy.
Flow. This content stuff is not. It's not easy.
Not for the week.
But okay, fast forward. Graduation, moved to New York. Did you always want to move to New York City?
I did. I think that was a huge part of the appeal for Penn was people moved to New York, and I wanted to have, like, a community that was already built before I moved here,
Hmm.
but somehow Columbia I actually liked Columbia as a school, but I never really seriously thought about it. So,
Okay, fair. School wise, I mean, the whole New York City thing for me was I set this path out for myself where I was like, okay, freshman summer, I want to be abroad. Sophomore summer, I want to be abroad. Junior summer, I want to intern in the city to get a full time job here. I never even knew why I wanted to move to New York, but it was just kind of this thing where, okay, this is where I need to be.
yep,
Lined all that up perfectly. Freshman summer went to Kenya. Sophomore summer was supposed to go to South Africa, but that COVID thing happened. You
little
remember
thing,
remember
yeah.
that thing, COVID? That happened. So that disrupted that a little bit. And then junior summer intern and full time. Look at me now, living
How did
living the
you
big boy
know
dream.
that you wanted to do, like, international like, you must have been, like, 17 when you had that plan.
Yeah, because probably even yeah, 17. I don't know. For not actually no, I do know. I always remembered just I know you hear about college, everyone's like, oh, I want to study abroad, blah, blah, blah. In my mind, I was like, you only get the undergrad experience one time in your life. And 8 semesters to be on your college campus is not a lot at all.
Mhm.
So I want to take advantage of all 8 of those. And summer is 9 weeks or probably even longer than
Yep.
that. And you could get a 9 week experience elsewhere. And I thought that that made more sense to me to maximize the time that I actually had on campus. COVID ended up saying fuck you, and we didn't get the whole time on campus. But honestly, the thought process still stands. So as much as everyone who went abroad either fall or spring and they love their experiences, honestly, I have no regrets about not doing that
Yeah.
because the summer I think is the perfect time to travel.
You also I mean, realistically, because I was one of those people who wanted to do a semester abroad, mostly because I didn't even think about doing a summer, you are the only person who got to do it. Because, like, our junior year, no one got to go abroad, at least from Penn. They canceled all abroad
Yeah,
programs.
same,
So,
same.
worked out for you.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, and look at me now. But okay, your TikTok. We've spoken about your TikTok already. Tell the people what your page is called and describe the type of content you do.
Okay, so my page is called Rachel in a Real Way, which I kind of just typed in and I was like, if I need to change it, I'll come back to it. There wasn't a lot of thought put into that.
Not no, but you can't
There
the
really
whole
wasn't a lot of thought.
but you probably now can't change it because you've already
Yeah, I'm not
built
changing it.
some sort of that's like you need to pick something and stick with it. Like go with the flow. Like I've thought about
It's a good name.
it's a great name. So yeah, I even when I'm like, "Ooh, maybe I could have tweaked it." I'm like, "No, this is the brand. You can't
You
switch it.
can't
That's
switch
like
it.
your tag, your handle, you can't switch it." So yeah, Rachel in a real way.
Yeah. So Rachel in a Real Way came to fruition in June. I was with my parents who are incredibly supportive of it. Mostly because of the money you can make on it. They don't understand it at all. But I went to Coachella and got invited to this brand event. And I think Coachella is, like, the most fascinating thing. To back it up a little bit, my friend and I started the original page at Coachella senior spring with a video, like, just a series of videos about camping at Coachella, like, not staying in a nice house, not being influencers, and people really kind of enjoyed that content of, like, "Oh, this is what the festival is actually meant to be about." So I guess
Mhm.
the whole premise of the page has always been, like, being kind of authentic and, like, not really being embarrassed or, like, filtering yourself to, like, look cooler online. I think that's what Instagram is for.
Yeah.
But that was the premise, and then my parents in June, when it kind of just came to time to, like, see what else was on, what else could be from this page, were very supportive of me splitting from that former account. And yeah, it's been going really well. So
Okay,
it's
really quickly before we get back to that, Coachella, is it worth it?
yes. If you like music festivals, absolutely. I think these are the pros cons. Like weekend one, influencers kind of annoying, but the best artists will bring their like best friends who are also incredible musicians, and you're never going to see like these two people perform live in any other situation. So that is amazing. Weekend two is so much more chill. I've been to both. And weekend two, you get people who are much more into the music, just want to be there for the vibes, but you don't get the same level of guest artists, which I think is part of what makes Coachella so exciting. But it's incredibly clean. It's so well organized. I enjoyed camping. I've camped twice and done a hotel this year for the first time. Next year, if I go back, I told my friends last night that I want to camp again, um, or have a brand take me.
I mean, that's good to know because I've only ever been to one music festival. I went to Made in America,
In Philly.
in Philly. Yep, my sophomore junior summer of high school, and I did it one time, and I literally told myself in that moment I never need to do another festival again
Okay.
because I'm just actually, the way I said I never need to do another festival, except that Coachella thing looks kind of fun, so I would do that. Or because I'm a bougie, I like nice things. If I could do a VIP experience at a
There.
tour at a festival, I would do that. Simply because I swear most of these festivals, like the Gov Balls, the Rolling Loud, you name it, it's a bunch of high schoolers drinking for the first time wearing
Mhm.
their sports jerseys, and it's just a miserable experience when you are around a certain group of people who all they want to do is mosh pit and
Yeah.
be violent. It's like, guys, can we just relax here?
Yeah, it's
And
not like that.
that's okay. That's great to know. So
Yeah.
basically, yes. So I never need to go to another one of those types of festivals.
Same.
But Coachella, I've always been like, that seems like a different and a more unique experience. So I would definitely want to try that. So that is a good stamp
Yeah.
of approval.
It's a very fun experience, and I think the thing about Coachella is it's not even just, like, music, although it does have incredible musicians. Like, camping is super fun. It's also the most fake camping ever. Like, I remember the first year we showed up with a rental car, an air mattress, and we didn't even have a pump for the air mattress, and,
Nice.
like, everyone around us is, like, expert campers, and they, like, help you set it up, and they help you figure it out, and, like, you're a little grimy and gross by, like, the 3rd day, but you'll survive.
Everyone's grabbing girls.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Burning Man? Would you do Burning Man?
I would have until last year.
When it rained a lot and
Yeah.
it just looked miserable?
And I had a friend who was there, and it wasn't even the raining, it was, like, the acid on people's feet.
Acid on feet.
Yeah, like, people had to wear, like, coverings, or you couldn't go barefoot, which I was like, "Why were people barefoot anyway?" But, people were getting burns because of something in the dirt on the ground. I don't really understand it, but
Interesting. I saw that this year they usually will sell tickets out very quickly, but there's no demand this year, and
yeah.
so they struggle to sell tickets out.
Yeah.
Personally, I got zero interest in Burning Man. It just
Yeah.
again, like I like nice things. I don't want to go a couple days without showering. It just I don't.
That's fair.
It's whatever that experience is. It's not for me.
Yeah.
When we get to campus, you need to do something called outdoor action or community action. I did outdoor action, which was literally us camping for 5 days in the Appalachian Trail. We didn't shower for 5 days. We didn't change our clothes for 5 days. We didn't do it.
Fun.
It was a lot. No cell phones. It was a unique experience that I'm glad I can say I did. But I'm not an outdoorsy person.
Okay, so no hiking trips with your family?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean,
Okay.
we actually went. Funny enough, we went to Vegas for a family trip at the end of May.
That's a crazy family trip.
I know. Yeah, and it was for my aunt's 60th birthday, and my son, or not my son, my
I was
son.
like, "Wow, we're getting so much."
Congratulations. No, my cousin, who was her son, who gave a speech at the birthday party, he was like, yeah, my mom doesn't drink or gamble, but she chose Vegas for the family trip,
Yeesh.
which, whatever. It was a great trip.
Yeah.
It was a very fun time, but we did a Grand Canyon day where I guess we hiked it barely
Yeah.
technically, but outside of that, you're not gonna catch me out in the wilderness with my big
Mm.
backpack on. I'm like,
My family is the opposite. We're, like, big hiking people. My brother and my dad did Grand Canyon rim to rim. I've done Grand Canyon, like, to the
rim to
bottom.
rim. What that?
Like, you can do bottom to top,
Uh-huh.
which you can do in a day, and I've done that. I did that when I was, like, young. Like, it's not that hard. But my brother and my dad did bottom, and then the rim to rim is, like, you go across the canyon floor, and then you go up the top.
Okay.
I got out of that. I was, like, 15, and I was like, "Finals are really difficult this year. I can't miss school for a week before finals." I was like, "I do not wanna do this." But we're doing a big hike in, like, 3 weeks, and
Wow,
I'm
good for
freaking out.
you.
So,
I mean, how big is big?
it's, like, my first overnight hike, and we're staying in a hostel My mom is not happy about it.
Yeah, I just again, good for you and your family. That will not
Yeah.
be my family. We will be well, that is not currently when I have my own family. That's not gonna be what we do.
Yeah,
But
that's
okay,
fair.
so
That's so fair.
so the TikTok. Who okay, one thing I like about your content is, and honestly, I feel like anyone who does good content is like it sparks a conversation or a thought or makes you want to comment and be like, give your own point of view. What would you say? How would you describe the content that you do, and what would you say like your target audience is?
Um, how would I describe it? I think it's
I
I
can you want me to try to
yeah, I
describe it?
don't know how I would describe it, please.
I think it is the everyday thoughts we have about our work, about our dating lives, about our friends, and you just kind of speak to the camera and give your opinions about it. And usually it's not, I wouldn't even say they're provocative. You are just saying probably things that a lot of people are thinking, and that will usually spark a bunch of commentary and be like, oh, I agree, I disagree. And it's just very simple and straight to the point. It's not like you need this large production. It's literally just you speaking into your wired headphones. Which why wired headphones? Are you just trying to
So
be? Are you just trying to be different?
no,
Like I
no.
feel like everyone who doesn't use AirPods, you just want to be different.
So during the internship, which we never actually met at, but
Yeah, yeah.
the internship process, I was really unsure of if I wanted to go back into like finance, into what I was doing in finance. And I was largely left alone for like a lot of the day. And I would interview at these companies. And like, I think the younger you are, like, there's so many opportunities, like, especially when you're still in college. There was no door that I wasn't willing to like figure out what was behind it. And one of those was a hedge fund, and it's like a really good fund. And I got an interview, and I was like doing the prep call for the interview with the woman from the fund in a taxi, which I never take a taxi. And I had lost AirPods. So I went to the Apple store, like the one near Central Park, got new AirPods still in the box, get in a taxi for God knows what reason. Cause I was like calling my mom after the prep call to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, what do you think about this and that? Like, I talked to my parents about like every major decision. And I was so excited talking to my mom, left the brand new AirPods in the bag in the taxi. And like, even now, I still think $130 is a ton of money. But like, as an intern in New York,
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot of
It's a lot
money
of money.
to literally just throw away.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at myself. I was like, I'm never buying those again.
So you were mad at yourself for being a little
Disorganized.
forgetful and
Yeah.
disorganized.
Well, I lose
Okay.
stuff. I lose stuff all the time. Like, I lost my wallet for 3 weeks and I found it this week.
I was about to say, I swear every video I see you're talking about how you lost. Like, find your fucking.
It's
you
found.
your.
It's
Okay, I was
found.
like, why has your wallet been lost for as long as it?
But it
like,
does. You don't need a wallet in New York.
fair. Honestly, you're right.
You
Great
need a
point.
wallet in DC. I learned
You-
that the hard way.
Why do
No
you-
one takes Apple Pay in DC.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they stuck in the past? What do you
Yeah.
mean they don't? Like to this day, they don't take Apple Pay in
I don't
DC?
know, but like I went to pay with Apple Pay in a car, and I had to call my friend to like come pay with like a physical card because I did not bring a card with me to the city, which is my own fault.
Yeah, that's a little ancient. DC, y'all gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
That should be whoever. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say okay.
Yeah.
DC, figure that out. But okay, so yeah, that's how I would actually no quickly about AirPods. I got my first pair of AirPods, 21st birthday. My brother gave them to me. I still have that pair of AirPods. Never lost them, never
That
nothing.
is so rare.
But that was the like first generation AirPods. I was like, I need to upgrade, so I got my newer pair of like the whatever the most recent one was. Like, I probably got it like 4 or 5
The
months
sound
ago.
canceling ones.
Yeah,
See, my best friend in college, he had the new ones, and I remember he let me borrow them once. And I actually should introduce you guys when he visits New York. You guys will really get along.
amazing. Please do.
He lives in Boston, sadly, but
That is sad.
yeah, it's so sad for all of us. He's like, this is the most like waspy white city ever, and I'm like, yeah, you're not in Miami anymore. But he let me borrow his new like the nice noise canceling ones, and this isn't a hot take, but I stand by this. I don't think as a girl I would feel safe using them. Like I
Oh.
can't not know what's going
As
on.
a
around me.
man, I also if it's really late at night, I'm headphones out. You need to be aware. I agree. The noise cancellation it's a tricky one. It's an amazing immersive experience. Like when you literally go from I'm hearing all the noise around me to you put them in. I literally feel like I'm in an Apple commercial and
Yeah.
like strutting down the street. But safety wise, you have no clue about anything going on around you, and you can see how that could potentially lead to so many bad situations.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still use my noise cancellation during the day, but even then it could be an issue. But especially at night, I usually won't even walk with headphones in because definitely need to be aware of everything going on around you.
Yeah.
But got the new generation pair like 4 months ago. On that Vegas trip, having my ears, I land, walk off the plane. I literally get to my family who are picking me up, and I go to put the AirPods away, and I'm like, fuck, I left the case. Left the case. And I tracked them. And so for the first 24 hours-ish, they were still at the airport. And so I was like, okay, amazing. I put a claim in. Someone is going to be a good Samaritan, and I'm going to get a phone call or an email that,
No.
we found your AirPods. They have a tracker on them, and I just saw it going further and further
Mhm.
and further away from the
Your AirPods
airport.
went on vacation.
Yeah, so those were gone. So that was my first time kind of losing AirPods. But fun fact, Apple will sell you just a case.
I did know that.
So was able to get a case. But okay, so that's why you have again, I love when we go down these
Yeah.
tangents. I literally was just talking about how I feel about your podcast, and then we got to all those stories.
Yeah.
But okay, so that is the content. And that's why I like it, because again, you speak about these different topics that where anyone in their youth is speaking about.
Yeah. And I think for me, like it's fun to do, but I wasn't doing it just like as a hobby. I was like, there's the girl who's I think a year younger than we are, and she bought a house in March, like in the Hamptons, from making TikToks. And I was like, even before she'd posted this girl a few years ago had posted about her student loans, and then like a few months later posted about having paid them off. And like, I'm very fortunate to not have had them, but like that is a huge amount of money. Like that is so impressive that anyone could do that. And I remember thinking, how much money is this girl making doing this? Like
Yeah.
that's incredibly impressive to me. And then a few years later, she buys this house. And I'm like,
A lot of money.
a lot of money. And I'm like, you're 23 years old and you just bought yourself a house in the Hamptons. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I think I could do this. Like, I think it's just a matter of like being organized and like figuring out what works. And since I left my finance job in January, I've had like a lot more time to think about like what does well, what can I talk about, like what do people actually want to hear? Because I think that the goal for me is to like say something useful. And I also know like I don't think I have bad style, but I don't think I have like incredible style. Like I don't think, and there's always gonna be someone who can like buy something more expensive and like make a more aesthetic video. Like I'm far from like a great editor or like what I can do better than anyone else, not anyone else, but better than a lot of people is
Hey,
like
be confident. Yeah, better than anyone else. Yeah.
is like tell a story and like tell it in an interesting way. Like the friend who gave me the AirPods in college, he refers to me as like filing cabinet. That is literally his nickname for me here. He's like, you just have these really weird stories that you like pull out of nowhere and they're entertaining, but like what the hell? Like where did these come from? So yeah, so I knew I could do that and the TikToks. And then like I think there is just such an interest and like hype. Like we see it with like the guy in finance. Like it's such a weird world that people are so fascinated with for some reason. I mean, I think it's fascination with like money and like kind of the like scandals and like all the things that surround it.
Mhm.
So that content did well, but I'm really trying to never, well, one, I don't work in finance anymore. So there's only so much I can say about it. But two, I never want to be like just one thing
Yeah.
because
Multidimensional.
yeah. So I try not to talk about it excessively.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you just mentioned right there is I don't even understand this because my content doesn't make any money. I probably, I mean, so could definitely be much better about being more tailored and trying to find an audience and trying to grow it in that much more meaningful way. But I have a job that's very like for whole bunch of reasons, I haven't done that, and I probably should at some point. But we'll speak about that after this. But I don't think people realize just how much money there is in content creations. I don't truly appreciate it. You're definitely seeing it more now because you're getting into it. But it's always like, oh, how much does X amount of followers translate
And
dollars
I think
wise?
people
X
lie,
amount
to
of
be frank.
views. Okay.
Like I had someone tell me they made like $3,000 from like a UGC video, and like that like UGC means like they don't post it, the brand is posting it, and it was like a 15-second video, and I was like, but you didn't edit it, like you didn't do any of this. And I think there's so much, I mean, maybe that's true, I have literally no idea, but I was telling my roommates the story and they were like, do you believe him? And I was like, yes. And they're like, I don't. So I have no idea, but
it's all just one big black box until you're actually in it.
which I think it's a black box for brands too. Like I don't think brands know who's paying anything.
And that's the thing. That's why it's so. I mean, that's just business, and that
Yeah.
just is how content creation, influencing is a relatively new thing. And as everyone is getting into it, you can kind of I can see how easy it is to kind of bluff about what you might be getting from someone else and just kind of keep jacking your prices up and your rates up, which is why I mean the people who you actually know what they get paid. There's always like a yearly list that they'll post of the athletes who get paid the most from endorsements because they're essentially influencers
Yep,
too at the end of
correct.
the day. And you look at the Cristiano Ronaldo's of the world, and it's literally like 100 million plus,
Yep.
and you can see how it gets to that number not only because of their following, but it's like okay, we don't know what this brand is offering him, so we're gonna up it just for that level of exposure.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even need to be someone at that scale. It works at the level of the smaller influencers also. And it's again a very novel thing. I think maybe 5, 10 years down the line, it'll be more
Yeah.
commoditized. It'll be more like kind of like in finance, how everyone is getting this baseline
Mhm.
salary to start. But right now it's still the wild, wild west a little bit.
Yeah. Which I
And
think is part of what makes it fun.
exactly. And that's good for that's honestly, I mean, better for creators probably. I think I am not mad at anyone maximizing how much money they can make from whatever. If it is influencing, if it
Yeah.
is your like just go get your. I'm not mad at anyone
Yeah.
chasing their bag, so go do that, even if it's at the expense of whatever company. So it's a unique time and such a novel thing, and we're kind of just seeing how it'll all
Yeah.
develop. And I'm curious to see how it'll play out if influencing is a thing forever, which I think it might be, but that's a
Who
whole
knows?
nother
Yeah.
conversation. But okay, back to your TikTok.
Yeah.
So what I've done. Actually, no, I had one more question for you.
Yes.
Are you ever, and this is something that I had to deal with also when I was starting to do this podcast. I was like, I'm putting myself out there for judgment,
Mhm.
putting clips out there. There was a point in time where I was like, oh, what might people think about this? Blah, 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 blah. Did you ever have any sort of hesitation because of what you thought people might think, if they might judge you? How did you kind of work yourself through that process?
There's like a couple layers to it. So I think the first few months like in college were honestly some of the harder months because you like just start posting and then people would like come up to me, people who I wasn't close with but like knew. I distinctly remember this was actually post college being at Radagast and this girl who I knew in college but we'd like never had a conversation one on one comes up to me. She's on like different table. I'm like standing there and she's like, "Oh my god, like I see your TikToks, but you've been in a flop era recently." And I was like, "Thank you so much."
Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, so this was, like, on the old account, and I was like, "I don't even know what to say to that, but okay." And then I knew in my old job that my manager's best friend who also worked at the job, like, the second day of my job, she, like, came up to me, she's like, "Oh my god, I see them," which is, like, just in the back of your mind, you're like, anything I post, I know is, like, going to be seen, like
That's like me with knowing that my mom watches it. Same,
yeah,
it just puts a different, not that you're gonna act on it, but there's just a different,
yeah,
yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was harder in the beginning, and then I'm not really like a closed off person. Like I think my approach when I meet new people is like 100% open, 100% like give you the benefit of the doubt. Like I go into relationships thinking people are good people and then if you prove me wrong, like I am pretty quick to cut off because I wasn't like building you up into being a better person. Like I assumed you were good and I wouldn't have ever doubted it. And then if you kind of prove me wrong, like there'll be someone else who I'm willing to like give a very open attitude towards. But on the new account, I will say it's like very different. Like people are very supportive. People are like, "Oh my gosh, I love it. I see it." Like there are people I'm sure who are like saying mean things and like don't say it to me, but like I don't know, I think it all goes back to like going to a really small high school and like if you went to a party and you did something atrocious, like the next day at school, not just like your grade, but
The whole school.
the whole teachers, like, people would bring it up and, like, I remember having English teachers who would bring up, like, things that older kids had done in class. Like, you had to very much own, like, all of your actions, and I think with anything, like, I post online, I'm like, "This is there forever." Like, if I wouldn't be comfortable, like, saying this in front of my parents or, like, having someone else see this, like, even if there's, like, an inkling of, like, is this going to be, like, not beneficial to me, like, I wouldn't say it.
Yeah. I mean, I relate to everything you just said. Because like I said earlier, every podcast episode, I would literally say with my grandma, I'm like, we can watch it. Because
Yeah,
I'm not nothing I say on here is that crazy. I'll be
yeah,
honest. I don't even like push whatever. Like I'm just honest
yeah,
about my takes about different things and with the conversations that I have. So yeah, nothing that I'm ashamed of. But there definitely was a point in time, probably before, not as much since I've started putting stuff out there. But again, I don't even have as big of an audience. So maybe if it grows, then I might get more self-conscious again, but it's still at a
I
point
think you
where
become less self-conscious as you grow. At least I did,
interesting.
because I was like, before when I was like, do other people think the same way I think? It was like, am I gonna have so on the old account, it was very interesting. It was like 70% men to 30% women.
Interesting.
Well, it's not when you think about we were like posting in bathing suits and like you get what you
Guys
put
are
out into the
guys.
world.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And on the new account, like it's the exact opposite ratio, thank God. And girls are so much nicer online. Like
Are they?
they are. They're so
Are they?
I don't
Honestly,
know. They're not worse than like the men in like their basements. Like, right
fair.
now.
Honestly, I think a lot of people are just cruel online, man,
Yeah, that's
woman,
fair.
whatever. So I think that's what I look at it as. But I honestly love that you're saying that because I think at the end, it's even like the statement that I just said. It's so easy to look at the internet and be like, everyone's so fucking mean.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's so many nice people out there who just want wholesome content.
Yeah.
Or just even if it's not wholesome content, just to be supportive and to just again get that entertainment and that distraction. So yeah, I love that your audience is that, and I hope that as it grows, it's still kind of that positivity and not, when the mean people come, it's kind of like everyone just gangs up on them. It's like,
Yeah.
get out of here. This space is not really for you. But okay, so what I've done, I've pulled up a bunch of topics
Oh, God.
from clips or TikToks that you've put out, and we're just gonna go through them one at a time, have little discussions about it, and I'll give my POV. We're just gonna
Just
go with
back
the
and
flow.
forth.
We're just actually first one is a TikTok you posted, but honestly, it's more of just wanting the story. You brought up a story about how you went on a date with a pilot who flew you to.
No, that wasn't a date.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay, but doesn't even matter. Basically, you met a man who could fly planes, and you let him fly you in a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Can we hear that story, please? Why do we think that was actually? I'll let you tell the story.
For context, he was in the Air Force for 12 years. So I had every confidence in the world that this man knew how to fly a plane. And it was like, this was the 4th of July this past year. And it was take my like really roundabout flight home to get back to New York. And it was just like,
From where? Where were you?
I was in Aspen. So
Okay.
I was like, fly out of Aspen. And like the Aspen airport is like tiny and flights get delayed all the time. Or have this guy who has 12 years of flying planes fly me home. And he's been flying himself for like a many years after the Air Force. And I was like,
how does this come up that he flies planes? And when he offers to fly you,
it's like a friend's family member.
Oh, okay. That is helpful context.
Yeah, this wasn't like a stranger at a bar who's like, I'll fly you home. Like, that's how you get kidnapped. And I would never recommend that to
In my mind, that is exactly what it was. And I
No.
was like, Rachel, you're a smart girl.
No.
Getting on a plane with a strange man, I don't care how long he's been in the Air Force.
No.
Is not.
It was a friend's family member.
Okay. Oh, with that in mind, that's actually a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, and I knew it would be just like such an awesome thing that, first of all, is super generous of them to offer. But second of all, is like, I'm never going to get to do that. Like, I don't know how to fly a plane.
That's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, like, and that's so cool. So I did not tell my parents before, and then my dad called me, and I was in like Idaho, and I was like, I don't know, or Iowa, I don't know, one of them.
One of the eyes out there, yeah.
I think it was Iowa, actually.
One of the Midwest eyes, yeah.
And I was like, he was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm refueling this plane. He was like, why are you there? But I do believe in like telling your parents things, or like anyone after, just to not stress them out.
100. I agree. Yes, it's kind of I would rather ask for forgiveness and permission.
100%. I think that was the
vibe.
first thing I said to you
Really?
at our friend's party,
Maybe
like a year and a half ago, when we were like talking about like content creation and TikTok and like all of those things.
Yes, when we met. Yes, yeah. I remember exactly where and when we met. Yes, we did have this conversation.
And I was like, I 100% big believer in like ask for forgiveness, not permission.
That's the way. Even something as simple as your parents have your location?
They do at times, and then I like turn it off sporadically, and then like they don't really care anymore. In high school, they really wanted it, and I like refused.
Yeah, no, my parents, they're not getting my location.
That's fair.
That's just never happening.
That's so fair.
But as even a very simple example of ask for forgiveness, I would rather ask for forgiveness and permission. Senior year of high school. So I'm a big Eagles fan. Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
My brother I think he lived in Philly at the time. Whatever, we're all Eagles fans, so everyone was going to go to the parade. It was like a random Monday or Tuesday during the school year. And so I asked my parents, can I go to the Eagles parade? And they basically laughed me off, like, ha, 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 no. And I was like, in the moment, I don't say anything. I'm like, oh my God, okay, fine, I'll go to school, blah, blah, blah. So we had a
Were
way.
you already into Princeton, by the way?
No, actually, I'll guess that. I actually was not in Princeton. This was it junior?
No, this
Oh
was
no.
senior.
Oh, it was,
I know exactly when this was
oh
because
yeah.
Penn ED Day
S-
was this weekend.
Yeah, so but I didn't do ED. I did regular decision everywhere. So I'd applied everywhere, but I hadn't heard back from
This
anywhere.
is why you didn't get into Penn. You would have. We could have been classmates.
We could have been we could, but look at us now. But no, so I asked them if I can go. They say no. That was actually the day of my Harvard interview, and I maintain this is why I didn't get into Harvard. But basically, I have two brothers. Shout out to my brothers for enabling me. They're like, "Oh, it's the Eagles parade. Who knows if we'll ever win a Super Bowl again in our lifetime? We're going to this fucking parade." And so we actually, and again, another little side detour. It's so funny how parents think they're more like technologically savvy than you.
Mhm.
They didn't know that I had the login for like whatever the school portal was, so I could go in and mark myself out. So I went and I did that. So
We would have been friends in high school.
we
That story alone like makes me know we would have been friends.
So I go and I mark myself out of school so the school doesn't like call my parents like, oh, where's Folarin? So I cover that basis, go to the parade, have a phenomenal time. I don't even get to be there I'm there for a lot of the day. The Eagles come out, one of the first speeches start, and then I need to head back because I have my Harvard interview all the way back in Princeton, New Jersey. I ended up being like 35, 40 minutes late for that interview. I actually don't know if my parents know that part, but I was late to that interview.
So it all worked out.
That's
It's
probably why I
fine.
didn't get into Harvard, but it is what it is.
Everything happens for a reason.
But I go, I have a phenomenal day. I was late for the interview, but who cares? Because I ended up getting in elsewhere. And it was just one of those things where the story probably came up about me actually going to the parade like 5, 6 years later.
Mhm.
And at that point, it's like, surprise, I got to have this amazing experience. No harm, no foul. I got into a
Yeah.
good school. And now we can all move on with our lives. And so
Exactly.
that's the way I operate, honestly, with yeah, generally operate that way. When people are
Same.
like, don't do this, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to, you
You
only
just have
live.
to trust yourself. And I think
Yeah.
that's like a huge thing. Not that I want kids anytime soon, but like I would never want my kid to like not trust themselves most.
Yeah.
Like you have to like have confidence in the decisions you make. Otherwise you're gonna be like so pedantic and like, did I make the right choice? And like overthinking and like I don't know, I tend to be like, I made the choice. Was it perfect? Yes, no, it's okay. And like if you're not stressed about it, like if you're a good person, like even if you make a mistake, it's not gonna be like a total disaster.
Yeah, we should be able to live and make mistakes and learn and not have them be like life altering, blah, blah, blah.
Or like major sources of stress.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I would make that decision 100 times out of 100
Yeah.
because phenomenal day. Again, I think the Eagles will win another Super Bowl very soon, but still, at that point in time, you never know. But okay, one of the first topic, actually, we're on this right now. And you've already kind of answered it because it sounds like you're pretty close with the parents and you tell them a lot. How do you strike that balance of what is too much to tell them?
Oh, they don't want to know what's on the TikTok. They
Okay.
don't, in fact. They're happy to be on it, but I think they're just like, I don't get it. They don't have any social media. Like they don't even have Facebook. They're not on it. And I think they're just like, we know that this is something you do and like we trust you. Their biggest thing is like when I talk about work and jobs, they're like, don't say anything negative, which I like never would because I'm a big believer in like your experience is like your own. So like I will say that I like was in this job and I am no longer in this job, but I will never post like these are the reasons no one should work in finance or anything like that. Cause
Yeah.
I just first of all don't believe that, but I also think like everyone's experience is their own and like why I left isn't really helpful for anyone. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
I
not-
mean,
that's
it
not
could be,
useful
but
advice.
yeah, I'm saying it, but it could be on a more intimate, direct, one-on-one level
Yeah.
rather than something that you're putting
Yeah.
out into the ether.
Well, when people DM me and they're like very nice, they're always nice girls, and they're like, I don't know what to do with my internship. Like, can I talk to you? And I spoke to like a couple of them this week, which I think was like really fulfilling for me because I had such good mentors like as an undergrad. So I'm excited to do that for other people, and
That's
I'll tell
pretty
them.
cool. They're just based off your content. People are reaching out.
And they
asking
work
for
at
that
like real
advice.
companies.
And that's again,
I know.
very cool. That's very cool stuff.
Yeah, I was like shocked. I was like, one of the girls had like a very similar background to myself, and I was like, oh my god, like it's looking in the mirror. It's so weird.
That is very cool. I think for me, that's a balance I need to. I've definitely leaned to the side of I don't really tell them a ton
Mhm.
because I mean, yeah, for whatever reason, I think I'm just a more like guarded, quiet person. But for whatever reason, I'm able to come on this and just. This is so natural to me. I just
Mhm.
love doing it so much. And so I actually probably opened up more on here than I do elsewhere.
Yeah.
And even my mom was like, I'm learning so much about you from the podcast. And I was like,
Aw.
oh, well.
Yeah, I definitely am like more open on my TikTok, and then sometimes I get like annoyed with my friends because they'll be like they won't call or like text me, And they'll be like, but I know what's going on in your life. And I'm like, like a filtered version of it in some regards. Like, I'm not saying like everything.
Everything. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I've debated blocking my closest friends so that they feel need
they
to
actually
come
have to
talk
talk
to
to you.
me.
That's a perfect segue into the next TikTok you posted. You posted one about low maintenance relationships or
Yes.
friendships and friends who basically friendships that are one sided where friends don't reach out. One side doesn't reach out as much as the other one.
Yes. So I think they're two different kinds of friends. Like I think we are low maintenance friends.
Yeah.
Like I texted you last week and I was like, "Are you going to XYZ party tonight?" And like you're not like, "Why didn't Rachel let me know 4 days ago?" or like anything like that. Like
My
you're
one
like,
big gripe was you were getting there at midnight on a Thursday night. And I was like,
the party started at midnight. I wasn't even getting there late.
What did I tell you? I was like, I could do a solid on a work night, a solid 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., but starting my night at midnight.
Too late. I agree.
And I would do it, but it's got to be the right thing.
That's fair. And we've also been to this exact party like 3 times now.
Yeah.
Like this is not a first. But I think low maintenance friendships are so important because like you can't be everyone's like, oh my God, the bodega man just like charged me an extra $5 today. Like I have friends like that who every single instance in their life, they text about it and I text them. Like it's a stream of consciousness in these chats. Izzy is one of those friends.
Nice.
And I love those friendships, but not everyone can be that versus like the other kind of friend, which is someone who like you're chasing and it is one-sided because you're like, I've put in so much work and I continue to put in work and like I don't mind making plans, but like if I make a plan and I send it to you and I can't even get a yes or a no, like I'm not going to keep doing that, which took me like years to figure out because I think I was like, everyone's like, oh, I'm so busy and I had such a stressful job. And like, that's always the excuse. And like, I had a busy and stressful job. Like, and I was still planning things for people. And like, even when I couldn't go, I would still communicate that. And I think the like communicating whether you can or can't do something is like where I draw the line of like, you don't have to come. No one's saying that you have to come to my plans. But like, if you can't even say like, no, I can't come today, like, I'm not asking for the world.
I think that's I love that distinction because exactly like you said, there's low maintenance friendships where things come up, you text them about, you're hosting something, you're going to invite them, you'll see each other probably like once every couple of weeks, maybe once a month. That is what what our friendship is exactly, and it's definitely like a two-way situation. But even exactly like you said on the other end, I'm someone who I really value relationships and keeping up with people. And like, if I try to be very good about one way that I do that is just like birthdays.
Yeah.
I put everyone's birthday in my calendar. And if it's your birthday, and if I see it, sometimes I forget, but I'll text you. Even if you're someone who we haven't spoken in months, I'm like,
yeah,
I know it's your birthday. You know how you feel about receiving birthday messages. So I would like to do that for someone else. So I always will text you happy birthday. And so I'm someone, again, with that in mind, I just like to keep relationships going, that sort of thing. But there are definitely times where, exactly like you just said, if I'm the only one who is reaching out, and if I never texted you, I would probably not hear from you for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's not a friend. And I say this in the most like humble way. I have enough other people who care about me that I'm not going to go chasing the one person who doesn't want to be friends.
Completely new. Like you could have like a great new relationship with all of the effort you're putting into this relationship that's one-sided. If you put that into someone new, and like if that original person who you were putting all the effort into is now like, oh, where is Rachel? I haven't heard from her in a few months. Like they'll either reach out or like they won't, and then you have your answer. Like it doesn't mean like I text you last time for a plan, you have to text me this time.
Yeah, it's not such a like a formula where it's like I go, you go, I go, you go. But I feel like we all know what that cadence is like of actually this person is never actually reaching out to me. And yeah, I'm glad I came to that. I mean, I've had that realization for a solid amount of time now where it's like I'm not begging anybody to be my friend or be in my life or to talk to me. So if you don't feel the need or the energy, God bless you. And it won't ever be I hate you, there's beef. It's just it is what it is. And you just let some people fade away. We see each other in person whenever, and it's okay. But agree, I'm not going to ever try to beg someone to be my friend.
Yeah.
Because, you
don't have to. Like, if you're a nice person, like, there will be someone else who you can be nice to.
Agreed. Okay, next one. Trying to impress someone you like.
Oh. There's so many things I could say here.
Because I think you gave a distinction between friends and like romantic.
Oh, with friends, I mean, with both, I'll do crazy things. But like with my current roommate, the second Coachella I went to, she and I like really didn't know each other at all, but we were moving in together in like 2 weeks.
Have I met her?
Beatrice,
Oh,
you
wait.
definitely have.
Yeah, but you've
So
always lived with her.
I've always lived with her in this apartment, but my first year in New York, I lived in Chelsea.
I
Yeah,
only knew Brooklyn you. I don't think
yeah, you didn't
okay.
know me in Manhattan.
I didn't know Manhattan. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I was like, yeah, okay.
so
Definitely have met Beatrice. Shout out
yes,
Beatrice.
Beatrice is amazing, but we didn't know each other super well.
Okay.
And the only reason she agreed to come to Coachella with us was to see Bad Bunny. And when I tell you this man got on stage and performed for 4 hours straight and there was not a single word of English, I'm just sitting there and like
Except when he goes, Bad Bunny, Bad Bunny.
yeah, that's it. That's it. And like the words in between the songs, not in English, like not one word left his mouth. And then he brought on stage Post Malone. Mic didn't work. So I'm sure that would have been in English. And it just didn't happen for me. But I was sitting there for 4 hours and we'd flown out that morning because I was still working in finance. So I was trying to take as few days off as possible. So we left New York at like 4 a.m. And by this point it was California like 11 p.m., which means it's like add 3 to that, like whatever, 2 a.m. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 a.m. The set goes until like 1, which is really, really long for a Coachella set, or like maybe longer. I don't know. It was 4 hours of sitting there.
4 hours is a long set for anything.
For anything.
I think is that what T Swizzle's doing on her tour?
Yeah.
I think her shit
Yeah,
is
but
long
hers
too.
is in English. So, so I like was not doing great, to be honest. But I was there, and she to this day is like, I know you were a really good friend to me at that, because I love Bad Bunny now. Like he's like always top songs every year, but at the time I knew nothing.
Fair. But you say you did that for her because you wanted to.
I wanted to like show that I could like show up.
You could show up and you could hang. I respect that. What's the wildest for like a guy you might be interested in? Oh, I'm gonna try to make an impression. Or maybe maybe not even wild, just if there are crazy ones, let's hear it.
In college, I took this one. Is this the craziest? No, I think a really good story is this guy who used to work at the bank we worked at, but he's like 5 years older, was working at a PE firm with this guy I knew from Penn. Okay, so he's like 29 years old, but used to work at our bank. He and I met at a party. He goes to my friend, is like, Rachel's really cute. I'd like to go on a date with her. Whatever. We start texting. At some point, like I was trying to leave the bank and I was like, what should I do? And I sent him my resume, but you know how you have your interests at the bottom of the resume? Because he was like going to edit it for me. But I like asked my friend what his interests were. And then I made my interests at the bottom of the resume like tangential to them so that we'd have like more to talk about. And he did edit my resume. And that is the resume I got my current job with. He has a girlfriend who also has like 75% of my name, like we share.
Nice.
But I see him sometimes. He's doing well.
Wait, but more to that is insane.
Is that insane? Or
no,
is it
okay, no. That is honestly strategic. Honestly, strategic is a perfect word. I think we are all strategic about these things. But when he saw your interest, did that actually lead to
a great conversation? And then the PE. Like,
I love that.
Evil,
that's actually not. That's not even insane. That is just smart and strategic. I love it.
Yeah. And then obviously, like it didn't work out, but I still think that was a great story.
That is a great story. And I'm not sending any girls my resumes, but that's smart.
Genius.
Again, I respect, well, now that I'm trying to think, do I do?
And then they know so much about you. And like, I'm not, like he was asking me because I was like talking about leaving. And then he was like, let me know if I can help. And he's older and he'd like done a very similar transition. And I was like, here you go. Here's everything about me.
No, I'm trying to think of if I've ever done.
Also, your resume is like all of your best points, right?
But
so, like,
yes, but the only hesitation I have about sending a resume is it's just such a formal.
Yeah, but I mean, it has to fit in the conversation. You can't just randomly send someone your resume. Like we were talking about work.
Fair. It had to have come up. Yes, fair. I'm trying to think of if I've ever, like, what's the craziest thing?
Yeah, I want to know the craziest thing you've ever done for a girl.
For like to try to get their attention or
anything. I don't really care.
I wish I had my filing cabinet of stories a little better than yours. Hold on, let me think really. And I might not be able to think of one.
I can tell another. The other one.
Yeah, you tell another. Fuck, I wish because I've definitely done this, but now I'm like I'm not as good about remembering stories. But yes, you tell another one, and I will try to think. And if I can't by the time you're done, I'll just ask the next question.
Okay, so right before, you know how we got the finance internship like our sophomore summer?
Yep.
So then junior fall, I was taking this finance class And this guy who I thought was like stunning was in that class, and most of the class was like group work. So you were going to be with a group of 4 the entire like semester, just doing projects like every single week. And this was COVID. So this was like probably like one of your main social interactions. Actually, Penn went out a lot during COVID. So it was a key class social interaction, I should say. And I like think I told like I was very private about like having gotten the internship and like not talking about it to people because it just like seemed very like braggy. And I remember like strategically telling one of his friends who was in the class that I had gotten this internship because I knew it would like validate that I could be a valid member of this group. I knew nothing about finance. I was so unhelpful in this group project, but I did get myself. I feel like that's not as exciting though. But I did get myself into the group with him, and he was so smart and he did all of the work for us. So
There you go. That's a good. And I honestly nothing crazy I can think of. I guess just one very simple one is anytime there's a party, I'm looking through the list to see who's
Mhm.
going to be there, and so just something as
Don't
simple
we
as.
all?
I mean, I think yeah,
Even if it's like on the subway there, you're like, who's
yeah,
coming
even
today?
if you say you don't, you're lying. But I guess simple example or things I'll do is like, oh, if there's a girl that I've seen, I'm like, oh, I think she's cute. I will just try to like, oh, tell a friend. I don't.
That's
This
not
isn't. This is.
crazy.
I know it's not crazy. I'm just trying to. It's not even that crazy. Just oh, I see this friend. Can you like make sure we like not make sure we interact, but just say good things about me, that type of thing.
Mhm.
But that's a simple one.
Yeah, that's basic.
I will think of better examples, and because I'll think of better examples. Okay, next one. Still on the topic of dating. You have one that says inexpensive dates are better.
Yes.
Oh, actually, no. Before we do that one, I like this one more. Screening calls before a date.
Oh my God. This is a new phenomenon that I've experienced, and it's wild to me.
Say more, because I've done one actually. I've done
One is
one.
too many.
I agree, and this was actually intern summer. So again, this was
Oh.
3 years ago. Like
Ahead of
yes.
the curve. Okay. So I had never experienced it until like maybe March of this. No, must have been before March. I don't know, sometime in 2024. And this guy calls me and like
Out of the blue.
out of the blue. And I don't save anyone's number until I like you. So I just have like these random numbers floating in my phone. And I was like, I don't know, it's a New York City area code. Like, let me pick it up. And I put it on speaker with my roommates because I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is so odd. He starts speaking to me, and I'm like, do you call most of your dates before a date? Like, I've never experienced this before in my life. And because if you meet someone on an app, I'm a huge believer in like,
Get to the date as quickly as
yes,
possible. Thank you.
like
Yes.
I don't want a pen pal. I don't want to be talking and like
Thank
learning
you.
about your
We
Instagram.
should get there in 5 texts, and it should be where are
Correct.
we meeting and when, and go from there. I
Exactly.
agree. Yes.
And like, I don't, you like the more information you have about someone without context, like I'm sure people would look at like stuff I say or like look at my TikTok or like look at my Instagram or anything, and they'd be like, ew, I can find that, and be like, I don't know if that's a vibe. But like once you know someone, like there are things that all of our friends do that we're kind of like, oh, I get it. They're my friend. Or like because someone you know and you like the energy, you're like, you don't care that they do something weird. But without having met them, you don't have any of that like buffer for forgiveness. And it's
Agreed.
just like the more information you have about someone, which is why I don't think guys should have their Instagrams on Hinge. I think that should be illegal.
I didn't have mine on there. Well, I'm even off all the dating apps now for that
Mhm.
exact same reason that you said, is I would like to learn everything about you from you as we go along. I
Yeah.
don't want to see everything beforehand. Honestly, I don't think anyone should have their Instagrams
I
on
agree.
Hinge.
I agree. I
Yeah.
think that goes for girls and guys. I don't.
Girl, yeah, no one should have. Yeah, that's a yes, I agree.
Yeah. So where was I going with this?
Screening calls.
Screening calls. Oh, so he's like, yeah, I've only done it once before, but we ended up not going on the date, so I'm really glad I did it. I'm like, this is not a high review. There's no reason.
High review's crazy.
But also like the guys who I feel like do it, like he and I like got through the call, and like I'm really awkward about like saying no when someone like asks me directly, like, do you want to go out? And I'll always say yes, and then like later say no because I just feel weird about it.
Fair.
And I said yes on the phone. He was like, what do you want to do for the date? And I was like, oh, like coffee, because I didn't want him making a reservation because I knew I was not like this is never happening, this plan. And I
Yeah.
don't want you to get charged for a reservation that we're never gonna go out, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So I was like, let's do coffee. Or he's like, let's do drinks. And then he was like, do you want to do coffee? And I'm like, you're doing a screening call for a date that's gonna cost you $7. Like, I understand dating in New York is expensive. I completely empathize because I'm not paying for it. But like,
Yeah.
I feel bad that dates are expensive, yes. But Go on cheaper dates.
Yeah, which honestly, and well, I love that you brought that up, and I'll ask you about that in a second. But just really quickly, lastly, on the screening call point, the date is the screening.
Correct.
So go and meet them in person and then figure out if you like them or don't like them.
Also, like, we're both chatty people, and, like, I know I'm carrying that phone call. I'm sure if you were put on one, you would also be carrying it, and it's always guys who, like, it's never gonna be more fun with someone on the phone than it is, like, when you can read their body language and, like, tell
Yes,
what they're saying,
exactly.
and it's always guys who, like, don't have great banter doing a screening call. So I'm like, if you know you're not great, like, communication-wise without the person in front of you, you're putting yourself up for, like,
Setting
to
yourself
not
up for failure.
yes,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I agree.
there's
Moral of
no
the
need.
story, screening calls are stupid. Don't put your IG in your
Mm.
dating app profiles. And yeah, I
Don't
like that.
text me for a week before we go out.
Yeah, oh my God. I'm
Even
not,
if
are
you
you still, are you on the dating apps?
Yeah, I actually went on a really good Hinge date on Thursday.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for
it's
you.
really good.
I've been off them. We were joking about this last night. I was like, I'm 6 months clean, and I will not be relapsing. Thankfully, like
That's how I talk about TikTok with people on dates. They're like, I deleted it. I'm like, oh, so you're sober.
Yeah, I have no use for them ever. But that would always be the most frustrating thing where you match with someone and well, I get it in the sense of, okay, if we match and something happens and you might be out of town, fine. Even if we go on a couple of weeks before going on the date, I don't need to text you every day.
Correct.
But
Just say,
if
hey,
you
I'll text you when I'm back in town. Really
exactly,
looking forward to it.
exactly, just
Done.
get to within 5 texts, 5, 10 max, you should have planned your date and then stop texting and then go on the date and then
Although
see
you
where
do need
things.
to send a text the day of the date,
Agreed. Yes. Yeah.
which not everyone does.
You don't do that? I'm such a
No.
I'm so I
I'm
will
expecting
literally
it
morning
from
of, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're still good for tonight. Easy, clean." You say, "No, cool." You say, "Yes, amazing." Like, it's the simple things you
Yeah.
think everyone would realize, but whatever.
You would think everyone would realize, and it's crazy.
It's crazy. Next, okay, on the expensive dates, I saw one TikTok you posted where you said you have a guy friend who regularly takes girls
You've
on
met him. He
$300
works
dates.
at the bank.
We'll discuss after, but no, wait, I don't think I know who it is, but okay. I'm noting that down
Actually,
just
you
like
haven't. I always talk to
this is
him
the
about you and you about him.
yes, okay. That's what is he doing for these? Are they just dinners?
No, he's like just going out for like drinks at like nice places. Cause I get it. Like he's like, if I'm going on a date, especially on a weeknight, I want to like make it fun, especially if the girls, he's like us, like he's chatty and like
Yeah.
gregarious, but like I think he sometimes goes out with the wrong people, but he's spending a lot on these dates. And I remember he and I were like going like a year and a half ago at this point, we were both going out like multiple times a week. And he was telling me how much he was spending. And I was like, I know we're earning the exact same salary. And like, I couldn't afford that. Like, I don't know how you're making this work.
It's expensive to be a guy. And I have gone on 2 dates that have crossed the $300
That's
threshold.
crazy.
They were both dinners at nice restaurants, but I don't
Were you in a relationship with these people?
no, no.
One was a second date?
One was a second date. The other we had gone out for like a couple months. It was a later date.
Okay.
And that was actually the last well, yeah.
Right.
No, because whatever. So that one now I try to make that my personal rule. It's like I am not taking you on a dinner date, especially not date 1 or 2 or 3. Like
No.
we-
Don't say that.
no, why am I? There's so many other ways that I'm gonna
It
spend.
doesn't have to be an expensive dinner, but it should be.
Okay, fair. Okay, fair. That's honestly that's on me.
My hot take is that if they don't ask you to dinner, date 2 or 3, they probably don't like you that much.
Actually, let me even rescind what I said because I fully lied because I went on a first date 2 weeks ago, but it was like a casual spot.
Okay.
So I did not spend $300. So I take that back.
Yeah.
I don't need to. I'm not going to try to impress you with the restaurant or because with how
You can
much
also
money I
impress
make.
with like a niche restaurant that's not
Expensive.
expensive but
Yeah.
has good food.
Yeah. But
That would be
basically,
ideal.
it's you. I see how the costs are there, and I am now. Let's just say I definitely spent a lot more money on dating in like my first year and a half in the city, and now like you feel the difference because
Yeah.
now I'm not going on nearly as many dates, and I'm like this it's nice money to have and not
Yeah.
just be spending
Yeah.
on girls you see 1 or 2 times. So as a guy, it's challenging, but I think there's ways to be smart and strategic about not going broke just to take girls out.
I think also as a girl, like I definitely prefer to do a less expensive first date because one, I will not be paying for the date. And like anyone who says like, oh, that's so bad, like
They don't actually think.
they don't actually know
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
But-
yeah.
Or I guess we would just never be compatible and that's totally fine. And it's for me, it's not about the money. Like I actually don't want you to spend a lot on the first date in case we don't get along. Like I feel bad, not bad enough to split it because I think that is setting a bad precedent for the girls that you go out with later. But I don't know. I don't want you to spend a ton of money on me if we're never going out again. But at the same time, I wouldn't split it with you, which I realize is like catch 22. But
It's and I was speaking about this with some people the other day. It's such an interesting time that we're in with the dating scene because and even when I think back to the second $300 dinner that I had, I think in my head, I definitely put this expectation on myself. I'd like assumed that she was expecting dinners and dates of
mm,
that quality and caliber. And who knows? She could have just been like, no, we could have gone for pizza and I'd really enjoyed your company. And so
yeah,
like this would have been fine.
with the right person, you would.
Exactly, but for whatever reason, whether it's like social media or just talking to people and different pressures, in my mind, I was like, okay, if the dates aren't stepping up and up and up, and if they're not meeting this certain threshold, then they're not good enough. Which I am trying to shed that mindset,
Hmm.
but it's definitely one that's hard to shed. But I do now think, and again, I
Ooh,
it's easier said than done. She just keeps breaking the mic. It's
nice.
okay. We're almost done anyway. Now you have to hold it for the last
No,
three
I think I
minutes,
can fix it.
but I feel like that's something that a lot of guys feel is this pressure, especially if you're going out with, girls who work at certain places or went to
Yeah.
certain schools. You just put this pressure on yourself that it needs to meet some certain
Do you
quality.
like to go
But
out with girls who work in finance?
no,
Really?
not that I don't like to, but
You don't.
no, I don't dislike it, but that's not what I go for. And it spans a whole range. I went on a date with a nurse the other day. I went on a date with it's no, short answer is I don't need it to be a finance girl. But okay. We've Well, for what are we at? Like an hour, couple minutes? Hour one. Okay. Perfect timing. There's so much more to get to, but you'll just have to come back on
I'll
another
come
episode.
back, and this time I
But
won't break the mic.
you won't break the mic. But we're just gonna go right to the song segment because
Wait, I don't have my list.
you don't have where's your list? Go get your
Hold on,
list.
is this
Get
gonna
your list.
break?
Honestly, I'll
Hold
hold
the
it.
mic.
I'll hold it. Go get your list.
I'm like trying to remember.
we can it's
I think it's just the back one. The front is fine.
Oh my goodness, that's some other shit. That's like
it's we're about to wrap. She can hold it for 3
Yeah, I
minutes.
can.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, I just won't touch it.
Appreciate it.
just keep it like that.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
no
not
no
touching
touching.
it. Okay.
All right, song segment. I have my guests come with 5 songs to describe who they are. So, person, Rachel, take it away. Say the song and say the reason you chose it.
Okay. What to start with? The first song is "Week Without You" by Miley Cyrus. I think it's a really. I remember like vividly listening to it in high school, driving home from either like junior or senior year, which I have like a lot of memories of driving home, and I think that is probably what I miss most about not living outside of New York. But it's a really catchy song about like what you would do if like you weren't concerned what anyone else was like with you or thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We have "Don't Start Now," which I think by Dua Lipa.
Good song.
Really good song. Remember listening to that like sophomore year of college, just like at a darty outside. Just
Oh, those were the days. College darties. That is like peak of life.
yeah, like especially sophomore year when like I don't know, that year was amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
"Deadbeat Gospel" by Barry Can't Swim. Have you heard Barry Can't Swim?
No.
Okay, you have to listen. It's really good.
Okay, I'll listen.
That song is like about like just like loving music and like we've talked about it. Like I love a good music festival. "Girl So Confusing" by Charlie XCX.
Okay.
I kind of like the original more than the one with Lorde, if I'm being honest. But I think the sentiment of the song is like very valid.
Okay.
Where you're like close with someone, but like sometimes you're like, I have no idea how I feel about you.
Fair.
And then "Breathe Deeper" by Tame Impala, which is like, how to describe it? I think it's a song about like having a lot of confidence in yourself.
Okay. I love it. And now the very last segment, the way that I've wrapped, or when I've done the last like 10, 15 episodes, I have my guests manifest their life 10 years in the future
God.
to the most specific detail possible. So Rachel, in 10 years, where do you want to be? To the most specific detail possible.
10 years from now, I'll be 34. Hmm. Is it concerning that I like haven't thought about this?
No, I don't think so.
Let me think. There are definitely things I want. I want to be like, I think the biggest thing is like having control over my time. So I want to have like put the pieces in place when I'm like in my 20s so that I have like a successful career, and what that career will look like, I don't know, because I think I'm interested in so many things that like don't necessarily match up. Like obviously I love social media, but I like love healthcare, and like we did not even touch on that.
Mhm.
But I think having control over my time so that I can like spend it on like family, traveling, like reading, like doing things that like make me smarter. I don't know. At some point, I think I'd like to have a farm. I really started thinking about that.
I love that. There you go.
And I'd also like to have a house in Miami. So
Amazing.
got two ends of the spectrum.
I
there.
love that. And hopefully in 10 years, you'll have all of that. It's just, I'm big on manifesting, putting things out into the
I'm-
world.
Yeah, I'm big on manifesting too.
There you go.
Did I ever tell you about how I decided when I was going to leave the former job?
No, you didn't.
I was having a really bad day, and I looked back on my bank account to see when the bonus had been deposited the year before, and I was like, I'm leaving that day. Like, I'm not staying a single day past that. And then it turns out my start date at my new job was exactly 2 weeks post that day.
Look at God. Look at that
I
time.
know,
Look
I know.
at that
Isn't that
time.
crazy?
That is crazy.
So it all worked out.
Okay. Well, Rachel, did I not say that would be easy?
No, it was really fun.
That was,
It was scary at first.
it's and again, this is literally every episode. People come in, they're nervous, and then we do an hour and some change. You're like, wow, that was easy. I could do another hour.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Phenomenal episode. Any last words for the people?
Um,
Follow Rachel on TikTok.
that's true. Unless you're gonna be mean, and then don't.
Yeah, and then don't. If you're gonna be mean, stay away. But if you're gonna be nice and you
You
want to
think I'm in
join,
my flop era? I'm that girl at
then
Radcast.
stay
Making
away.
fun.
But no, that was fun. That was really fun. You will definitely be back on here. I feel like we could just. You'll be like someone who, if I don't have anyone, just come. We'll just chop
We'll
it
just
up.
chat. We have
We'll
lots
ju-
to talk about.
We'll just chop
We
it up.
always do.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of Go with the Flow.